Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a tag video. I was tagged by Silje and this is the Dilemmas of a Book Nerd book tag. So yeah, I'm just going to jump straight into it. There are 10 questions in this tag and it's quite a nice tag. I think it's very well thought out. So the first question is book storage. Well, it's Dilemma 1. Book storage. How do you store and organise your books? So behind me you will see some books organised in no specific order other than the fact that I just put them on the shelves. I have moved twice in the past year. In my old flat I didn't have any way of storing my books because I didn't have a bookshelf and I didn't stay there long enough to buy anything, but honestly I just stacked my books up. That's what I was doing. In my house back in Camden, when I lived at home with my parents, I had a bookshelf that I bought and there were books stuck in there, but then there were also books downstairs, in the storeroom in the downstairs toilet, and then there were also books up in the attic. I have so many books, so yeah, storage is an issue and I don't organise my books in any way, shape or form. I honestly just put books in slots in the order that I've read them in. At one point in my life I'm sure I'll be tempted to organise them in some way, but currently, nah. Dilemma number 2, tracking. How do you keep track of what you have read and what books you own? So I don't keep track of what books I've owned. Honestly, I don't actually lend out a lot of books. I have one friend that I lend books to and then I just never get them back, and I'm sure there's a couple of books I've given her that I haven't got back from last year. I don't lend a lot of books, not because I'm stingy with them, but just because no one really asks me for any books. So in terms of keeping track of how many I own, they're just there. I know kind of roughly in my head what books I've read, what books I haven't, which is really, I guess not weird, but yeah, I have a good grasp of what books I actually have read, or the books that I own, sorry. In terms of how do I keep track of what I've read, I use Goodreads to keep track of what I've read. So there's a ton of books obviously in my home back in London that are just not on Goodreads because I wasn't using Goodreads at that time. But for all the books that I currently read now, I just track them on Goodreads. It's just a good way for me to see what books I've read over the years. Dilemma number 3, borrow. Do you lend out your books? Yeah, I just said in that previous question, yes, if people ask me for them I will lend them out, but generally people don't really, so I don't have to part with my babies. Number 4, buying. How do you buy or acquire your books? I buy my books mainly on Amazon, I'm not gonna lie. I just, you know what, as a book lover I haven't really enjoyed going book shopping, I'm not gonna lie. For me, I'm very much a convenience kind of gal, and if I can have my books delivered to me then I don't really see why I should go out. That's probably a lot of relation to having anxiety and social anxiety, so I think that's what's occurred in the past. But recently, I have visited bookshops, secondhand bookshops and things like that. Just because I've seen so many lovely bookshops that I've just kind of wanted to visit them just for that experience. But yeah, I like the convenience of Amazon. It's really bad. It's so bad because there are great independent bookshops out there, and you can buy from them and they get a lot more of the profit, but I buy it on Amazon. What's number 5? Number 5 is comments. How do you respond to the "how do you read so much" comment or similar comments? I respond to them by saying that I just love reading. Honestly, the reason I am able to read so much now is, and I say this thing, I feel like I say this in a lot of videos, is because I take public transport. So when I'm going to and from work, I read. When I travel between London and Scotland, I'm taking public transport, so I'm reading. Prior to actually getting a job and working full time, I would just read all the time during the day. I really enjoyed reading, so it was something that I did. Just you would playing The Sims or stuff like that. I think it's only as I started working that it became this thing that I did on public transport, because my days were filled up with other things. I'd come back from work and I'd just be tired. There'd be some evenings where I would read, but really that didn't happen. The thing is, I don't think I get a lot of comments of people asking me now at least how I read so much. It was definitely when I was younger that I got those questions, when I was 13, 14, 15, whereas now most people I know have grown up with me, and they just know I love books, so it's never really a question. The sixth question is next book. How do you pick your next read? I am just a really sporadic reader. Like, I think it's only really since joining BookTube that I have a number of books where it's just like I can pick one at random. Usually, like, I say usually, in the past it's literally been like I have ordered a book and that's the next one I'm going to read because I finished the one I'm reading, or I've nearly finished it and I've ordered another one. In terms of now how I pick the next book I'm reading, I'm trying to stick to some reading goals. So I have a TBR and I'm trying to read in that TBR. There are some books that naturally just fall out of it that I end up picking up because I'm also a bit of a mood reader, I guess. I just read depending on my mood. I sort of, sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to read something heavy, I don't want to read something that's too dense, I want to read something that's light. And that's one thing I always keep coming back to. I will read some stuff and maybe it's quite emotional, and then I'll just be like, I just really want a light, easy read, and then I'll sort of delve into that. But honestly, I just pick my books at random. There is no rhyme or reason there. Dilemma 7, travel. How do you pick what books you bring on vacation with you? So I am a complete Kindle convert. I converted to the Kindle probably about 3 years ago, and I remember this because I was going on holiday for 2 weeks with one of my friends, and we were travelling, like hitting 5 different European cities, and it just didn't make sense for me to bring like all these different books because I knew I'm the kind of person that I'll go on holiday, like my bag can be like really light or whatever, but then I am picking up everything, every single souvenir. And we were going to like Italy, and I was just like, I know I'll be bringing back all the goodies, so I packed like really light. So I just converted to the Kindle. It was just so much easier in terms of having to just have that one thing, and then I wouldn't have to be like constantly switching my book between my checked-in luggage and my hand luggage and just all of that jazz. So I don't have that issue of picking which like paperback to bring with me. Obviously if I'm reading a paperback at the time, I'll just take it with me, it can just be in my bag, but then I will take my Kindle for other bits of reading. So that is me. I don't have to struggle, and I'm so happy about that. And the thing is also, I'm not the kind of person, well, maybe now I do go on quite a few holidays, but this year I've been on one holiday. Last year I think maybe as well 1 or 2 holidays, but basically in the past I didn't really go on holidays. I didn't go on holidays as a kid. I didn't start going on holidays like until I was like out of uni maybe and had a full-time job, so like it never really was a case that I had to ever struggle for like holiday reads or anything like that. The next question is number 8, annotate. Do you write or highlight or mark up your books in any way? I don't really, but I've only really started to now, and that's only really with books that I feel have a lot of like academic references and things like that. I mainly tend to like highlight or annotate in poetry books, just because, and honestly the annotations are never anything like spectacular. They're just like, wow, oh yeah, this is amazing. Like, I don't really even know why I bothered to do that because it's only me that's reading those books. But yeah, I think I used to have quite a thing about like writing or highlighting books. I used to really hate it, but I don't know, as I've grown older, it's become important to me to note down like things that really stand out to me in books, and it's not so much that I do it in fiction books, it's really mainly that I do it in non-fiction books, so I can just sort of come back to them. I think it's also kind of something I've picked up in the past year because I have been studying for my masters, and like some of these books are really dense, so you have to highlight stuff so that sort of if they stand out to you, you can just come back, open the book and read that one point. You don't have to read the whole thing again. Next question is number 9, or dilemma 9, new or backlist. What do you prefer, new releases or backlist books? I'm definitely a backlist books kind of girl. It's really interesting because although I know I've always wanted to work in the publishing industry, and I know, you know, a lot of it comes from the new frontlist titles, and you're always sort of promoting new titles every quarter. I have always been someone who has read backlist titles, but that's because I end up finding out about books that have been released whenever, and those are the ones I want to read. I think I was only really someone who read a lot of frontlist titles when I was borrowing books from the library, because obviously you always get to see their sort of new in and things like that. But honestly, I mainly read books that, you know, past their sort of promo date or whatever. I have no issue reading frontlist titles. I think it's just there are so many books to keep up with, and obviously the frontlist titles then become backlist titles anyway, and you're just constantly finding new books that you really want to read. So yeah, definitely more of a backlist person, but every now and then there is a frontlist title that will catch my eye, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here for that. Dilemma 10, sequels. Do you read books as they are released, or, I think that's supposed to say, or wait for an entire series to be published before reading book 1? I say this quite a bit, again, I'm not really someone that reads in series, like, I don't know, I feel like I have an aversion to them, at the same time I don't. It's just that nothing really catches my eye that I'm like, oh right, this is like, you know, what I want to read. And usually, like, I don't know, the authors that I read don't write series. Obviously I read the Harry Potter series, like I think by the time I started reading Harry Potter there were like at least 3 books out. And the only other series I can think of like in the past that I've read have been like the Divergent series. There's probably been something else, but again, they've all been series that I've come across when all 3 books have already been out. And like more recently, like I read the Dark Eden series again, that was already out. I think there's another series that I read. The only series I can think that I sort of started and all the books hadn't been out was the Comran Strike series, the J.K. Rowling, Robert Gabriel series. And again, like, I don't mind reading them as they come out. Like, obviously you kind of forget, and that's what I've done, you kind of forget about the book and you go on to read something else and then you kind of forget what happens. And that is what has happened with me. I think I've read one of the books, always wanted to go back and read the rest and just completely forgot. But mainly it doesn't really, it's not an issue I come across because I don't read a lot of books that are in series. I really feel no need to. And honestly, the other book series I've read is the Sleeping Giants. Yeah, I think that's correct, I could be wrong. And honestly, like, my findings from reading series recently is the first book is always great, the second I'm like, okay. The third I'm like, why did I waste my time? So, you know, I'm not going to be going down the route to read more series. I think that is the last of it. Yes. And that is the last. So I need to tag some people, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't know who to tag. So I'm gonna put the people that I tag, their names like on the screen. I think I have a couple of people in mind, but I just need to see if they've done this tag video or not. But yes, so I hope that gave you a bit more insight into my reading. I really like doing these little tags that are a little bit well thought out, you know. Because you sort of sit here and just talk about the books you've read, but it's kind of nice, like, even to just hear like people's reading habits, how they organise books and stuff like that. My answers aren't that interesting because I don't organise books, but you know what I mean. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in another video. Bye.